Well, it is the season after Epiphany, and therefore all of our readings that we will hear during Epiphany, as you might have noticed, are about Christ coming for the Gentiles. This will be very clear in our first reading today from Isaiah 49, where the Father says to the Son in Isaiah 49, "I will also give you as a light to the Gentiles." But our second reading is the opening of Paul's epistle to the Corinthians, and you might scratch your head on that one. There, Gentiles are not mentioned. How does that relate to the theme of Epiphany, the theme of God's grace coming to the world, to the nations? Well, the reason why is that Corinth is the most Gentile of all the early churches. Paul even says in 1 Corinthians 12:2, "You know that you were Gentiles, carried away by these dumb idols." And that is a sentence he would never write to Jews. So if Corinth is the epitome of the Gentile church, now we're ready to consider the opening that we're given today. And consider this. Verse 2, "To the church of God which is in Corinth, to those called to be saints." Also again, those who call on the name of Jesus Christ, their Lord and ours. And again, verse 9, God is faithful, by whom you were called into the fellowship of his Son. And Paul keeps returning to this idea that the Gentiles, they're called. They're called, they're called. Now, to be called by God is to be invited into his kingdom, into his nation, into his people. This calling is entirely God's initiative. It's not a reward for effort or merit. And if God calls, then there is a subsequent truth connected to that. And it is the truth that our lives are a response. So faithfulness, so discipleship, so sainthood are all responses for the Christian. God called you. He called you family. You didn't earn it, but he called you into it. And the practical implication of that is that your faith and life can't be a spectator sport. To respond means to walk with him. To respond means to wrestle with your sin in your life. To respond means to face circumstances that he gives you without anger, knowing that you are his. Or to speak the truth without fear, knowing that he is watching. For at the beginning of every single epistle that Paul writes, the apostle declares a sovereign truth that God called you. And it's not what you do, it's God called you. He initiates. But have you ever noticed that at the end of every epistle, then he tells the church to apply it, to respond to it. And that calling is there still. And that reminds us of our need to confess. So hear this from Psalm 51:3. "I acknowledge my transgressions. My sin is always before me." If you're with us today, you're invited to kneel with us. Come, let us worship and bow down. Kneel before the Lord our God, our Maker.